So, hey, everybody, I want to welcome y'all to the 7 o'clock Speaker Co-working. I'm Ron Story, the head of product at SpeakerHub. I'm here with Angela Lewis, the head of operations. This is our third call of the day. We do this at 12, 3, and 7 p.m. Eastern every single day, where we help speakers from around the world to get booked on more stages, whether they're our clients, they're prospective clients, or they're people that are just curious about the speaking business. This is where they can come 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, to get those questions answered. Nobody else in the world has booked more speaking gigs than us. Every 51 minutes, someone is meeting with an event planner or host due to the work that we do at SpeakerHub. So it's good to see everybody. Bart, good to see you. Chantel, good to see you. AJ, always good. You know, I am so glad that daylight savings time happened because I ain't got to be on this daggone call at 9 p.m. I be like, golly, this 6 o'clock feel good, man. This is good now, man. So, True, is that your first name? Is it
Yep, True Pettigrew.
okay? Cool. You want to introduce yourself? This is a basic ritual we do. Everybody who comes on for the first time, they always introduce themselves. Um, yeah. So you
Yep.
want to tell us what you do, what you speak about?
Nope, absolutely. Name is True Pettigrew. I've been married to my beautiful wife, Tamika, going on 23 years. We have a 12-year-old young prince who was one of my primary sources of inspiration. I'm originally from Baltimore, currently living in Cary, North Carolina. In my first career, I was a advertising, and marketing executive. Then I began full time speaking in 2012 when I started True Access, and I focus on serving as a bridge builder, helping people to build bridges across differences, whether those differences are racial divides, gender divides, generational divides, political divides, or relational divides of any kind. When I first started back in 2012, I thought I was primarily going to focus on helping people build bridges across generational divides. Because in my advertising and marketing career, I helped a lot of my clients connect with youth, young adult, multicultural audiences, saw a real need and pain points, helping people build bridges across generations. In 2014, when Mike Brown was shot and killed in Ferguson, based on my own lived experiences growing up in Baltimore, living in LA, being on the receiving end of excessive force by police myself, that affected me in a way that I didn't expect, particularly having a son, a young black male son who was only 2 at the time. But where I live in North Carolina, it's a predominantly white, relatively affluent community, so I was concerned for his safety. And I walked through the doors of the Cary Police Department one day, and that really changed the trajectory of my focus as a bridge builder. And that's when I really began building bridges across all of those dimensions. And I spend a lot of time now helping people understand how to build those bridges of trust, legitimacy, empathy, and understanding across any differences that exist. And after 2014, when Mike Brown was killed, a lot of my focus was helping law enforcement agencies build bridges with diverse communities, particularly Black communities. That led to some notoriety, some media exposure, went national doing that work with law enforcement agencies. And in 2020, when George Floyd was murdered, there was an executive at the Minnesota Timberwolves who was familiar with my bridge building work, asked if I could come and help them build bridges between their players and the Minneapolis PD because of the tensions that were taking place there. I agreed, and I actually went in house with the Timberwolves and the Lynx in Minnesota for 4 years. Just walked away from that last summer in 2024 at the end of the 23-24 Timberwolves season so I could focus on True Access again, really feeling like my work there was complete, helped provide a lot of impact and healing for that community and that organization. Wrote my second and just recently my third book, but right at the end of my time with the Timberwolves, wrote my second book based on that experience called We Can All Be Bridge Builders, and then relaunched True Access under that publication, and then just recently launched my third book, 100 of God's Most Powerful Promises. So my speaking is really around leadership, inclusion, and purpose, and primarily known as a community bridge builder.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's cool. Yeah, Cary is about an hour, I think an hour west of Rocky Mount, which is where my family's origins are.
Yeah, I
So
work with the Rocky Mount PD as well.
yeah, it's cool. Yeah, all right. It's really cool, really cool. Three of us are from 10 minutes away from where Mike Brown was shot. Me, Ange, and AJ all grew up in the St. Louis area.
Oh
Some
wow.
Ange was in on the Missouri side. AJ and I were in Alton and East St. Louis on the other side of the bridge. So very familiar with what happened back in August of 2014.
Hmm.
It's unfortunate, and it impacted a lot of people. So I respect the work you've done and keep doing it, man.
No, no, absolutely. No, I appreciate it.
Yeah. How can we help? What are you looking to do with your speaking?
Well, I'm with a Speakers Bureau now, Harry Walker Agency, and so they do okay by me. But I'm really looking to connect with a group that can have this type of connection that you all seem to have, just for fellowship connection, sharing of best practices, and then also generating more opportunities. So
Gotcha.
that's really what I'm looking for. Someone that where I could have some connection, fellowship, and really help to identify and generate some additional speaking opportunities.
Cool. How many gigs did you do in 2024?
Probably about 20.
Okay. And all of those are from Harry Walker or
No,
on
no,
your
most of
own?
them were from through me. So, I mean, you all are speakers, so I'm sure you understand how it works. Part of it was the profile that I had being with the NBA. People were just reaching out because of the type of work that I was doing. And a lot of it was based on the impact of the work that I was doing. And then when you do one speaking gig and you do well, then that breeds additional speaking gigs.
No, that makes
A
sense.
lot
Uh,
of it was just through my own efforts, word of mouth.
cool. What are you looking to do in 2025? Are you got gigs lined up already or
I do. I'm actually flying out to DC tomorrow. From DC, I go to Minnesota, and then we're on spring break the week after that. So I'll be gone. I'll be out of the country for a week. But I'm really looking to do about two, I mean, at a minimum, about two speaking engagements a month.
okay. And are those conferences, associations, podcast interviews?
Now, a speaking gig, so conferences and associations and or corporate. And so it's really a combination. I'll speak at corporate, you know, speaking in opportunities, when a lot of those tend to turn into workshops. So whether it's a keynote or a keynote workshop hybrid presentation, so a lot of those are come through corporate relationships and then also through associations and conferences.
Okay,
So
cool, cool.
some combination of the three.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I mean, that's what we do. So Speaker Hub is unique. Before I took control over it, it was the largest directory of speakers in the world. It had about 52,000 speakers as of June of 2024. Now we just crossed over 64,000. I think or we may be close to it. I think it's like 63,600 or something like that. Right. We'll be crossing 64,000 soon. I ran a competing agency, which was a pitching agency, not a booking agency. And a booking agency is where they're basically your receptionist. They do the outreach, they negotiate, they put it on your calendar, all of that. We didn't find that to be very valuable. We found that the most important thing was what was the first domino? Like if there's no pitch sent, if there's no email outreach done, then all that other stuff doesn't matter. And usually the speaker or someone on their team can set up the interview, the pre-interview, the negotiation calls on their own. All they needed was the opportunities to get those calls. So since 2018, I've worked with about 1,000 speakers, doing outreach for them. I booked over 10,000 meetings with event planners. Um, we show all of that work to people so that when people make claims and they can't defend it, that ain't how we work over here. We call ourselves a show your work company because I have no problem showing the text messages, the emails, everything. I'm like, look, you can go argue with somebody else. You can't argue with our results. So a lot of people like that because the speaking business is full of a lot of smoke and mirrors. and where people make claims and, oh, you could be a millionaire tomorrow. Just tell your story. You're like, man, you don't quit lying to these people. you know, and the industry changes. We work with enough people that we're able to do surveys and get data. And, we have over 10,000 organizers in our data set. So we can get data that other people can't get to know where the industry is shifting to and where it's going. And our job is to try to stay on the front end of that with the products and the services that we've developed. So everything we do is around a concept called the Speaker Flywheel. And I kind of walk through this. This is what we talk about all the time. The flywheel is what I noticed the best speakers were using. And it's usually contrary to what most speakers believe, but again, we just look at the results of the people that they aspire to be like, and we ask them if they're doing it, why aren't you? So, if you were to think of your five top thought leaders, how many of them have you heard speak live and in person?
Oh man, probably uh maybe two.
Yeah, right. That means you got caught up in their flywheel. You heard them on a podcast. You heard them in a YouTube video. You may have bought a book that they've written, but you've come into contact with them someplace outside of a paid speaking gig, right? So we look at that and we say,
Mhm.
well, okay, if Tony Robbins is doing 240 podcasts to release his book in 60 days, it's probably a good idea to be doing podcasts. If we look and we see, okay, this person spoke at this association and it was an association full of executives and they ended up getting corporate gigs from that association, it's probably a good deal. The way to get into corporate is speaking at the associations and getting clients out of the audience. If we look at the conferences and we say, okay, conferences are booking 2 quarters ahead. We believe 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 quarters. A podcast is 2 weeks out. An association is going to be 2 months out. Conference is going to be usually 2 quarters out for the larger ones. So, someone that's looking to do 20 conferences in March of 2025, they're saying, oh, I want to do those this year. Unless they can do them in the last quarter of the year, it's probably not going to happen just because of the timing of how those conferences book, anywhere 4 to 6 months before the actual event. Um, so, this is what we use. We use the flywheel to build momentum. We know a lot of speakers that have parts of the flywheel. They usually don't have the consistency or the control that they want over their products and services. One of the other things that I've learned, and you can come on here and listen to our testimonials or see what different speakers and things or celebrities have to say about the work we do. One thing that we figured out is how do you be consistent? And most speakers don't have the control and the consistency that they want in order to build a real business. We think only 30% of your revenue should come from the stage. So our job is to help you to develop the other 70% through products and services where your traditional speakers bureau can't help you to do that. Why? Because they don't get paid for you going on podcasts. They don't get paid for you doing um, free events where you get corporate clients out of it from workshops, things of that sort. So they don't even go into that world, but that's the world that all of the best speakers are in. And that's why they leave their agencies. When I talk to the top folks that are making $40,000, $50,000 a gig, they're like, dude, I left that agency because they didn't want to book me on the things that got me paid. So we're a bit different. We got 4 million gigs. A lot of agencies use our stuff, so we don't poop on them, but we're pretty honest with them. We got 4 million opportunities in our data set. We don't take any commission from you. So whatever you make is yours. We're open to all speakers, whether they're just starting out or they've been doing it for years. We help you with a lot of the coaching and the pitching. You can get your opinion, get our opinions on what you're doing. We'll give you feedback. You book directly with the organizer. We don't hide the person from you and say, "Hey, don't talk to them. You got to talk to me." Nope. That's your relationship. Um, Everything we do is based on membership fees. There's no commission, as I mentioned, and because we're not commission based, we can get you on stages that generate revenue that may not be commissionable to a traditional agency. So but very clear, very straightforward. And we know those who work who it works best for, and we know those who hate it over here. Like they're like, man, I don't want to do that. Cool, man, you can leave because you're gonna hate it over here because we try to help you to make money. But the main mission is we need you to be the leader that you needed. When I was a young kid, I always wanted someone to be an example, but I didn't always have them. So I'm just trying to be that person that I needed, in business and everything else. So I just try to share my experience with speakers because usually this is the first business they've run. And considering that I've been an entrepreneur since I was 19, it ain't much that's gonna surprise me. I've done a lot. I mean, in the last 6 years, we bought 5 businesses. I used to run 300 offices for farmers insurance, so I ain't afraid to sell stuff. But you can't have an impact if you don't get paid. So we try to help you to get paid in 3 ways: before you show up, during the event, and after the event. Now, you may not always get paid in all 3 of them, but you should get paid in at least 2 of them, either, something like that. So I'm a firm believer in getting paid during and after the event, primarily because I can make more money that way, versus asking for a show up fee when I'm not famous. So I'm just like, well, dude, I'll just buy the stage I want and sell my product from the stage. So, but that's what we do. We do it through that flywheel that I showed you. These guys already know this stuff, so they can teach this if they wanted to. They hear this every day because this is what we do. It's just the results. The coolest thing we do is this. One of the coolest things, I shouldn't say the coolest, but one of the coolest things is that we usually outrank 97% of our clients' personal web pages. Will come up before their LinkedIn or anything else when they're searched for. So if we were to use, like, let's use Rachel Mitchell. We'll use her this time. Rachel Mitchell. And we search for Rachel, and you can see this is Rachel right here. She looks nothing like this lady.
Right.
Not at all, right? But we need to find her. Well, how do event planners look for speakers? Well, they always type one word after the person's name whenever they know that there's a common name. They type speaker after their name. And once you do that, who comes up first?
Yep, I see it.
Right. So this is where we win on the inbound side. I mean, Amazon can show her book, but nobody can book her off of Amazon. Amazon won't even tell her who her customers are, right? So, I mean, we outrank everything else. This is just a normal thing, but it's not the magical part. Here's the magic. The magic that we do is in something called SpeakerHub Pro, where we use AI to do all of the same work that I used to do as an agent. It goes out, it looks at your web page, looks at your bio, writes your bio for you, does all the work. So you can see here, in here, I was working with Melanie Spring, who is incredible. We're going to have her speak at our summit at the end of next month. But I was working with her earlier today, and so this has her stuff in here. But I help speakers to get booked for podcasts, interviews. Let's do this. Let's go pay speaking, podcast, interviews, and press coverage. I'm going to put my stuff back in here, and you'll see what happens. Right. So if you look at the bio here, you see it's going to say, I'm empowering individuals through principle alignment. That's not my stuff. That's what Melanie does. But so what's going to happen is that with my website and my LinkedIn, the AI is going to go back out, read my website, read my LinkedIn, and rewrite my bio for me. Right. Which is the same thing I did as an agent. Same thing they did with you over at, is it Harry?
Harry Walker. Harry Walker.
Harry Walker, right? They had to put your bio in all of that stuff, or maybe they asked you to upload it yourself. But when we were doing outreach, we had to write bios for people. So I'm Ron Story, a dynamic speaker from Medellin. With a passion for empowering fellow speakers, my journey is dedicated to ensuring that talented speakers gain the recognition and opportunities they deserve. I specialize in helping speakers secure paid speaking gigs, podcast interviews, press coverage, and transforming that expertise into impactful platforms. If you are just a speaker, you are losing. Let me just say it again. You're leaving 80% of the money on the table just being a speaker. And so this is what we really believe, and this is what we teach. So once this happens and the bio is there, when I click on podcast, the AI is going to automatically start matching me with the podcast I should be a guest on. So if you see here, accelerate business growth, private practice, leaders and legends, these are all podcasts I can go on to talk about building a brand or how the people in the audience would be great speakers or they have a story, right? So let's use this one here, proof to product. I can click on it. I can listen to the episodes to make sure it's a good fit. And let's do this. This is easy. Add it to a list, and all I do is click pitch afterwards. So the same way I used to have to write the email and listen to the podcast and go and do all of that, the software is doing that for me, right? So in 15 seconds, it's going to go ahead and write the pitch for me, just like I used to do as an agent. I'm Ron Story. I'm deeply admire how accelerate your business growth empowers entrepreneurs, business leaders globally. As a seasoned speaker focused on public speaking, personal branding, and media outreach, I believe my expertise complements the values of your podcast, right? Same thing I would say if I was reaching out on behalf of a client. And then all I do is click send. That's it. That's how you pitch. So instead of having to hope that someone would send an email for you, you could do this for yourself, for podcasts, local associations, conferences. It's going to match you with whatever you need to be matched with. You can see all of mine are around financial, branding, things of that sort, which is what I do. If I want to go on this conference, I can click over, see it's in Anaheim in October, add it to a list, and click pitch. If you see Chantel and AJ not saying nothing because they send their pitches, this is what they do. We call it co-working. People come in and they just send their pitches throughout the day, ask questions. They run into a roadblock, they ask, or they run into something that they discover they want to share. They're allowed to share it. So that's the community side of what we do. But the main part of it is doing this. We get these emails out, and when we come over here, we can see I'm competitive as you couldn't even imagine. So I see Ricky's up here. He sent 274 since yesterday, right? Shannon Whittington has sent 74 because this starts over every Sunday. Jadika has sent 60. Claudine has sent 41, right? Chantel sent 323. Chantel, you losing for the month. You 10 behind. Catch up. No, just kidding.
It'll change tonight.
I'm just joking with you. I'm just teasing you, right? But this is since March 1st, so we do a tracking on weekly and monthly basis. The winner for the week gets all of their credits returned back to them. The winner for the month gets all of their monthly credits returned back to them also. So it's if you win, you get a free month, basically. And you can't outwork the work. That's what we figured out. And this is where the results come from. So you can track everything here, so I can follow up, do everything I need to do. If I have an event and I want to generate leads from the audience, I can use my QR code thing to capture leads and get reviews, give away my books, give away whatever I want to give away, and then come right back here. And the software is going to write the email for me for the follow-up emails, just like it would for a conference or something else. So this is what we do. This is where the magic happens. This is how we book more speaking gigs than anybody else. It's just through consistency. Bart, you just appeared out of nowhere like a stealth bomber. He just
Hey, it's daylight savings. You ain't gonna have me eating at 9:30 like you do.
Hey, look, it's 6:30, man. It's only 6:30 now. We on Central Time. Y'all moved. Y'all changed our time zone.
So now you'll be eating at 8:30 instead of 9:30.
Oh no, we gonna eat these early, man. I ain't gonna be on here at night that long no more, you know. But yeah, so any questions you got, True, you can ask anybody. I mean, these are all my friends, so
No, so this is the, thank you for sharing that information. So this is the team that is issuing or sending out those pitches for your pool of speakers. Is that, am I understanding that correctly? Or
no, no, no. You do it for yourself,
so everyone uses that software for them. Everyone uses
for
that
themselves.
for
Yeah,
them.
it's self-service.
Okay, okay,
Right?
got you. You just
Unless
provide,
unless
you
unless there
provide
are
the tools.
Yeah, we provide the tools for you to have your own independence. If someone wants us to do it for them, we do offer a service where we will do it for them. But it's so easy that we just say, hey, just try it yourself. Because what we found is that those who've never pitched, they usually don't respect the pitcher, right? In the words of Jay-Z, he says, y'all respect the dude that got shot, I respect the shooter. Well, in this case, I respect the people that have already pitched for themselves
Mm-hmm.
because when they come to us, they already understand and they have a bit more empathy than the person who's never pitched before, and they think we're just you know slaves. Like, dude, come on, like if you haven't tried this yourself, you don't understand how hard this is,
Right.
right? So
So all of this, all of these conferences and all of these event bookers are all in your data. You already have a database with all of this, and then the AI does all of the work for. So it identifies who the best fits are for me. I
yeah,
go in, it writes the pitch, I send it out, and it identifies the best recipients on the other end, whether it's a
yeah.
conference, whether it is a association, whatever the case may be. Got it.
Yep, and you can override that. So if you said you wanted to go to conferences that are in Minnesota, you can just type in Minnesota. It's going to bring up different conferences. So you're not stuck with what the AI suggests. The AI just eliminates the blank screen, right?
Yeah.
So if you said you wanted to go to something in Illinois, you type in Illinois, it's going to bring up conferences in Illinois. Now, this is for the fourth quarter because we practice what we preach, right? We have more than 140 conferences. There's only 140 of them happening in Illinois that we know about,
Right.
right? There's 600 and something throughout the year, but we keep the system by default. We don't want you thinking about it. We want it to automatically be pitching the conference in the right season.
Yeah.
When it comes to podcasts, there's no reason for you to waste time pitching podcasts that don't interview people because
Right.
you're trying to get interviewed, right? So, and then we're always only going to show podcasts that have had an episode published in the last 60 days because they don't need to pitching dead podcasts either, right? So we've already took all the thought out of it. Oh man, I think I got to do this. Dude, I already know the tricks. Let's just program that into the system as a default so that it removes the advantage from the experienced person versus the new person. Do you see what I mean? It kind of levels the playing field so that all the tricks and the tips that we learn, we just program it in for everybody.
Got it.
Make sense?
Yep. Yep.
So
What's the hit rate? How often do you so is it 20%, 33%, 40%, so
I mean, if you're Barack Obama, you send one pitch, you get 100 bookings because you're Barack Obama, right?
yeah.
But if you're unknown,
Mm-hmm.
you just don't know. So we always tell people, here's the thing, you got to find your number. AJ and I can talk on the same topics, but he's not willing to go to California. I am. But if California's hot, how can I say that I'm better than AJ? I'm not. That's just my number because those are the topics that I'm willing to pitch, and that's why I'm willing to travel to. So our basic thing is you got to send the pitches to find your own number because we don't know if people are interested in talking about your topic or whatever. All we know is we went and got the data and the contact person from the website. It's up to you to make that determination of if it's a gig you want.
Gotcha. So curious, how often does everyone speak? I know you asked me how many times did I speak last year. How often have each of you spoken?
So I'm not a speaker. I own the company. Ange runs the company,
Yeah.
right? So my job is not to be speaking, but I go on podcasts all the time. If somebody wants me to come talk on a live or whatever, I go do it. So that's my answer. Everybody knows I'm very clear. This ain't what I do.
Right.
My job is to be an amplifier to you guys. And I haven't found anyone who has booked more speaking gigs than me, no matter what agency they're a part of, because they just can't do it at volume, right? So that's what my advantage is. So I stay in my lane. Now, if Bart want to tell you how many times he spoke, or Chantel, or AJ,
Yeah, I'd be curious. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll just give you this story. So I mean, I've joined SpeakerHub in November, late November, right around Thanksgiving. And the main reason was because I was only on the inbound. So if people found me, then I got a gig. If they didn't find me, then I didn't get a gig.
Right.
I was over there trying to compile my, um, my list of contacts and all these type of things to send out to the clients that I wanted to speak to. But obviously that was a lot of work. So when I found this, I was like, okay, that cuts all the work out of the way,
Mm-hmm.
first and foremost. But the main thing was I was only in one quadrant of the speaker flywheel, which was inbound, which was not working for me. So
Right.
this was magical for me that I had other, more importantly, the outbound process and with people I could pitch to immediately versus all that other work of collecting this and email addresses and hoping they answer and who's the right contact, et cetera, et cetera. So since doing that, but I probably sent a pitch like right away. I think I was astonished that I got a response so fast for a podcast. And at the same time, where you had built a following and an audience, people knew who you were based on the work you were doing, et cetera, and the NBA helped excel that. Um, they didn't know who I was. So I approached it as building this brand in the space that I'm in so people can even know a little bit about me, let alone the world is probably never going to know, but this helped me begin that process. And I knew how media would work, even with the podcast that I get on more and more and more. My name's getting out there. So from where I was to where I am is just like it's just excelled it, 100 forward big time. But I guess to answer your question, so one speaking gig since then, but three more booked for the summertime because I got in November, figured out how to do everything in December. It was the holidays, but more importantly, 6 to 9 months out, I'm booked for the summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got three. You've got three booked for the summer.
Yeah, so far. Yeah.
Okay.
And now I'm pitching to, the next season, if you will, of October, November, December. And I
Gotcha.
probably have I'm waiting on probably 4 or 5 responses from filling out the applications to speak at the conference. I know I got at least 4 to 6 out there, and now I have another 6 that I have to do for those ones in the fall.
Okay. No, thank you. I appreciate you sharing it, Bart.
So the one thing you got to remember, True, is, or anyone who's listening to this on YouTube, it's 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 quarters. The if you don't understand that cycle, then you're gonna always think nothing works because you're saying, well, no, I need a speaking gig in April and I wanted to be at this conference. I'm like, dude, they booked the speaker for that conference in October of last year.
Right.
You're not even giving yourself a chance. I don't need you to give me a chance. You ain't giving yourself a chance to get booked. So it's understanding the cycle of speaking and then how do you eat along the way while
Right.
you're waiting on, like Bart said, while he's waiting in the summer,
Mm-hmm.
what does he do in the meantime? Well, he's still building that brand and um, doing outreach in the meantime. So, but yeah, I'll let anyone else, whatever other questions you have, or anyone else answer whatever they want.
For me, let me see. I have done, I think I did my 30th podcast last night, and today I did a
Holy crap. That's a lot.
I did a TV show today, and that was really awesome. I was actually on the set. Here's a quick picture. You can't even see the picture.
You got your green screen over there. We can't
Yeah.
see nothing.
Let me see. But yeah, I did a TV show today, and I have another. I got like what 4 podcasts that I'm doing this week. I have another TV show that I'm doing on Friday. So it's really like I'm always busy. Um, I'm working on some stuff for me to get booked. It looks like it might be September, December, but nothing's actually finalized just yet. But definitely, I'm on all engines on the flywheel. And I think that it's important to be on all engines and not just rely just on one thing, even though that might be something that you're comfortable with doing. My book, it just dropped on Amazon. So I've been really,
Congratulations on the book, by the way.
thank you. I've been really utilizing that, and also too utilizing my framework and getting a lot of good feedback from that, but I'm still full throttle with it. I'm trying to compete with myself yesterday, last month, and everything else.
Okay, now thank you. Appreciate that.
That's dope. 30, shoot, since the beginning of January. Holy crap. That's a lot. Holy smokes, Chantel be working. Hey, high five to you. Um, so
For me, it's a little different. As Ron said about me not going to California, that's partly true. I live in South America, Medellin, Colombia. So I'll only come speak in the springtime. Like I'm not coming in the summer. I'm not coming no other time. And that's also because like the way I speak is different. I've been speaking since 2008. So I've learned how to create my own stages. So I do an event down here that Ron has been to a couple times, and I do my whole salary in a weekend. So like like speaking at conferences for 5,000 isn't really appealing to leave paradise for. But if I would have had this software back when I started, or even in 2015 when I started taking off, it'd have been totally different for me just because he has all the information for me now. So now I use it primarily to build relationships and get the other part going of the Speaker Flywheel, the podcast and all of that, because I know that I've only seen my 5 top favorite speakers. I only seen one in person. So I realized if I'm to become people's favorite speaker, they ain't gonna see me in person. They gonna see me somewhere else. So that's what I want to get together. So that's why I'm using it. So I'm doing podcasts. Like I get booked on a podcast almost every day. Like or I'm recording one or so speaking on stages is cool, but there's other ways I'm utilizing it.
Gotcha. Okay. No, I appreciate it. No, this has all been very helpful. Thank you all for sharing.
Oh yeah, no, this is what we do, man. So we do this call every day. Different people come in. The 12 o'clock is like the nightclub. Everybody's in there at 12 o'clock. The joint be cracking. And it can go on for a long time. So we usually are there for about an hour. Sometimes like today it was almost 2 hours, but it was cool. This is what we do, man. I know what my job is to get more speakers on stage, dragging them, what they say, kicking and screaming all the way to the stage. But the main thing is we got to get them to stay in the business. And over 80% of speakers make less than $50,000 a year. So, and they're doing less than 5 gigs a year. So our goal is to raise that average on the number of gigs and the revenue that they make, because the world needs those messages. So
No, absolutely. And I will not profess to be a speaker business expert. I am very confident in my message and my ability to speak, and just the track record has shown that. So what I think this could add value for me is really putting some systems in place for the speaker business. I have been fortunate and blessed in the regard that those opportunities have been available for me, presenting themselves for me, but I don't want to rest on my laurels or rely solely on Harry Walker, because if you're familiar with them, they have, it's funny you mentioned Barack Obama, right? They have the Denzels of the world, the Barack Obamas. They are sister agency to WME. So those are the caliber of speakers that they have. So I know I am not at the top of that totem pole within that agency. But being a part of that agency helps lend the credibility to people to help me secure my rate at the same time.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. No, I mean, William Morris is huge. I just used them as an example the other day. And Harry Walker was one of the agencies that came up because they're right in the bottom and the footer of the page, on the William Morris Endeavor page. So,
Right.
no, I mean, dude,
So
like,
I want to just leverage all the
100%. I think there's some flavors of the month, right? Like right now, most people in the US aren't very popular with DEI, or, a lot of the diversity things have kind of taken a hit in the minds of the people. So people are kind of tentative with DEI. But outside of the US, DEI is still going like it never stopped, right? But if we were only focused in the US, that's all we would see. But
Right.
since, only 20,000 of our 60,000 or so speakers are in the US, we get this broader view to say, in Europe, they're still popping. Like they don't care about what the US president is doing in their countries. They're saying, hey, this is still important to us.
Right.
So, I don't know anybody who can rely on someone else to make a living for them. So I think everybody should at least have it in their back pocket to say, hey, look, if I want to send my own emails and be at this conference, I should be able to do it. And so yeah, no, man. I mean, Harry Walker is a great place for those that get accepted.
Right. Yeah.
For
No,
people
and
that
that's what
got
I'm saying. I'm
$5,000 fee, they're not getting on Harry Walker. And I don't know what do you charge? What's your range?
20,000.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I think that 20 or 15 or 20 may be the entry over there.
Right.
So,
Yeah. No, and it is. Yeah. And so they take 20. So they take four for every one they book. They get four. I bring home 16. But when I book my own, I get my full rate.
yeah, no, that's cool. And I think it's pretty cool that you don't have an exclusive agreement with them. Because some agencies, they want exclusive, meaning they get paid whether you book them or they book you.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So, but no, man, I mean, let us know how we can be of service. That's our job.
And I want to also be able to, and I love the familial camaraderie that you've established. So that's part of the appeal. I looked at some of the videos, I looked at some of the YouTubes, and I kind of got a sense of the way that you all engage and interact and support. And so that just know that is something that I found appealing as well. So I want to be able to offer value is what, right? Obviously there's a lot of resources that you can provide that could help me enhance and optimize my speaking business. But I also want to understand ways that I could offer value to the organization as well, to the group.
Yeah, just keep showing up. I mean, this is for everybody. It's not, we haven't put a velvet rope up and said, hey, only these people can come. I just need more examples, man. I mean, this is bigger than Nino Brown.
Right.
It's bigger than me, man. I mean, there's kids out here getting killed and it's just the worst. And any positive messages, again, I look at SpeakerHub as a record label for speakers. And if they can promote all the negativity, I can promote the positivity with the same energy.
Yeah.
And instead of y'all signing a 360 deal, we give you an independent distribution contract. You come over here and get on whatever stages you can get hired to get on and keep all the money. We've just helped you with the research. So
And that's really what I'm looking, because look, the agency, I mean, you familiar with, they're incredible. They're very professional, a lot of credibility. So they're phenomenal. Just looking for an additional resource to provide this type of interaction in addition to other ways to generate incremental or additional speaking opportunities. So this would be something that I think could complement what Harry Walker is already doing.
100%. We are not an either or. We are an and company. Keep doing whatever you was doing and just add us to it. The other side of it is, I think sometimes I think sometimes as speakers, we forget that we forget the impact we have on small groups, right? Like the big stages are cool for me. Like I don't mind going to do that, but when I see people come on, they're like, man, I got my first speaking gig. I'm super duper excited because I know that you just never know what that person's going to turn into.
Right.
So, but I also see the other side of it where you're retiring. You've been speaking in the airports 3 days a week for the last 20 years, but you can't retire because you haven't built up any assets, any intellectual property that can keep paying you during retirement because you've just been paid for performance, right? Especially if you're getting 20, 30, 40, $50,000 a gig. We had someone on the other day. Her name is Vernice Armour, and she gets paid about $50,000. She says this publicly, so this isn't private information. And she says, I do 6 gigs a month, but I get paid when I go on stage. I don't have anything else off the stage, right? From this business that pays me. And, to me, I'm like, nah, I mean, 7 Habits does $280 million a year, and the guy been dead for 13 years. So it has to be something that has to be bigger than Nino Brown. And that's why I always say that. It has to be bigger than AJ. It has to be bigger than True. It has to be bigger than Chantel. Hopefully Chantel's book will sell for the next 75 years, as long as it's available in print. No different than, how old is The Art of War by Shang Tzu? It's still selling. Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, still selling. So we're just trying to find intellectual property. I think being a speaker only is kind of cheating the game and not giving the people the mode of how they want to learn about what you teach. So this is it. This is what we do, man. So you're always welcome. I don't really have a topic for today. I'm tired. This is meeting number 17.
So this was helpful for me. I'm happy to answer any questions anyone else has. I didn't know what to expect with the introduction. My thoughts were that we would have this. You would tell me a little bit about yourself and SpeakerHub, and then I would answer any questions. Unless anyone else has questions for me, like I said, I'm happy to answer. I want to jump, make sure get my young prince fed, and spend some other time with my wife before I hop on that bird tomorrow.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, man, I'll follow up with you, and I'll send you some information about what the next steps are if it's something you want to be a part of. It's really simple. It's super affordable. We're just looking for folks that's committed to speaking, and it seems like you're committed to do that. So, some people test it. I just want to stick my toe in. I'm like, well, just come back when you're ready.
This is what I'm doing. Right, I'm in. I'm doing this already. So I'm looking for a resource that could help me optimize.
Oh yeah, no, that makes sense. And so I'm going to send you a link to what we call a lifetime account, right? So AJ, Bart, they just pay once. Chantel, oh, you heading out? Okay. Edge got to run. I forgot. Edge told me she was leaving early. Certain people have lifetime accounts. Some people, some folks still pay us monthly. They said, dude, I'm just going to pay once and be done with it. And, it's kind of like in my fraternity, we have this thing called lifetime members. And it's like, dude, you just pay for it. You ain't got to worry about these annual dues that keep going up every year. So it's kind of the same thing that we try to do here. It's pretty simple, man. I mean, we even finance it for people. So we're like, dude, you ain't got to pay it all up front. Just pay it whenever you want. Because at the end of the day, I gotta help more people to get on stage. So that's all I care about. I don't really care about nothing else, but just counteracting the sexy reds. I need to quit talking bad about her because she is from my neighborhood and she did make it out. I mean, but good Lord, the stuff she says is ignorant. The stuff she say is just terrible, but
I do not disagree.
Yeah, I mean, you should look up her lip gloss line, and listen to the flavors of lip gloss she came up with. Oh my God, it's the most ignorant thing I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, it's the worst. But hey, any other questions, guys? Before we hop off, I'm gonna go get me some food. True, you're always welcome to come back. I'll follow up with you and send you over some of the pricing stuff. And we'll go from there.
All right. Sounds good. Hey, thank you all for your time tonight. It was great meeting everyone. And I look forward to next steps in building with you all.
All right. We'll be here, man. Have a safe trip and enjoy your time with your family.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Cool. Chantel, how many books you done sold? You done sold 18 million books?
I wish. No. But I did the TV show today, and the host, like he did maybe like 12 takes before he could finally get it together. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like I'm just so used to just being on these podcasts where we just go off the rip, where everybody got everything in sync. There are no takes. We just going right into it. And it seemed like he needed to kind of get it together a little bit. And I'm like, oh, I'm not used to this. So by the time he finally got it together, then I was able to flow. And it seemed like he was almost feeding off of my flow, like,
Gotcha.
just kind of bring it down a little bit, do a nice little flow. But by him being a TV show host, I felt like there was this competitive nature on us speaking. Like he asked me a question, but he wanted me to wrap it up so fast so he could talk. So I'm like, okay, I kind of got to get used to this.
Yeah, TV is a bit different than podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're used to like you got like maybe a minute and a half per answer, because
Mm-hmm.
the segments are so short, and you
Right,
got to remember they got, you know, 7 to 8 minutes and then a commercial,
right.
another 7 to 8 minutes and then a commercial. So in a 30-minute segment, there may only be 20 minutes worth of content.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have the sessions of three-minute sessions of advertising. So it's a different thing. And learning to look at which cameras and all of those
Exactly.
different things, those are things you have to get used to. So,
Mm-hmm.
but that's why you do it. You practice, and you know, you don't go Good Morning America your first shot. You end up looking like Shakori Richardson or whatever her name was. When that was, man, I don't know who told her that when she first had gotten into trouble,
Right.
and they told her, turn on your Zoom at your house, and she on Good Morning America, just terrible. I'm like, oh, who told her to do this? Like, give her a little bit of training. But she's overcome that. She's
Mm-hmm.
doing a lot better now, and she's avoided a lot of the controversy. But you got to practice. Like that media training thing is real. Um,
Yeah, I always say you go into it with your like you know what you want to say, and that practice is that script. And like Ron says all the time, but if you've done media and you've done TV and you've done radio, it's like you have your thing. I take those same things into the podcast, and they can say whatever they're going to say, and I know they are, and I'll let them. But I know I'm going to take this whole thing. I'm in charge the whole time. I don't care whose name is on the show. I'm going to
Right.
run the whole thing. But I think it's the same way with television. Now, that experience you just said, it sounded like you didn't have the stuff together, which is unfortunate. But
Right.
it's going in there with with the things that you want them to know, and if you
Mm-hmm.
have an opportunity to know how long it's going to be, that helps you to frame it, obviously. But I think, and Ronan, I hear people talk about stuff. To me, they are the same all the time. You listen to my podcast stuff, you're like he's saying the same thing. Well, because I say the same thing. I'm saying what I want you to know, period.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
But I will roll into it further depending on where they go and how much time they give me and all that type of stuff. But is it that I mean that's the framework, and I'm going to get it out.
Oh, 100%. I mean,
Can you guys see it?
oh yeah, that's dope. Yeah, it keeps there. It is. Okay, we can see it now. Your phone dimmed up a bit, but I got you. I see you. Yep. No, that's dope.
Oh yeah.
Nice, yeah.
No, it's
So like I
incredible.
even was trying to have him like lead me to the next answer, but he's so vain and into himself, it just went right over his head. So I almost had to just drop him what I wanted him to say
Mm.
next because it wasn't like I could feed him. And then afterwards, I was like, I feel like I was in competition with you speaking. And he was like, that's why I got my own show, because I like to talk. And I'm like, okay.
And another method is ask them questions to set up what you want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes they'd be dumbfounded and they think it's rhetorical because they don't have an answer to it. But
Mm-hmm.
bam, you get to provide an answer, which is what you want to do all along.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very interesting that. Well, I mean, she makes a good point, and Bart does too. It's their show, right? And some people have shows for different motives. Some people have a show for themselves, and I was invited on this kind of hillbilly podcast where the dude brought me on there just to argue. And I was like, dude, look, I'm better at this than you, bro. I'm not about to sit on here and embarrass myself. And he never put the podcast out because I just wouldn't fight with him. I would just, yeah, and no matter what he said, yeah, and blah, blah, blah. He like, man, come on, man. I'm like, dude, I didn't come here to fight. Like, it's not about to be the redneck versus the black dude, right? So I just was like, yo, I mean, but once you feel that vibe, you just like, all right, I know what it is. I'm cool. That's why this ain't my only TV show or my only television interview. So, let them have their own shows and um, create your own and then invite him on. And every time he starts talking, say, that's enough. But just cut him off right in the middle. Well, what I was thinking, no, that's good. We don't even really even care, bro. You know what the rock it doesn't matter what you about to say, right?
I think a lot of time, if you study politicians, you'll learn how to really do it because they're magnificent and always going back to their point. No matter what the question is asked, they'll ask them something about the economy, and they'll be like, "That's a great question. I'm glad you asked that." But and then go right back to what they want to talk to. They won't even talk about the economy. They'll acknowledge it's a great question and then go right back to what they want to talk about.
Yep. It's the old saying of you have the right to ask me whatever question you want to ask me, and I have the right to answer whatever question I want to answer. So when you ask me this, I can say what I want to say. Oh man, but I think it's beautiful to see just the maturity and how we all get better. I mean, just getting better at all of this stuff because if you're not putting in the time, you're just not going to get better at it. And um, I'm a firm believer that your point of view is strengthened through the podcast because you learn like how to tell your story. You learn to fight other people's opinions about it and be able to tell it in different contexts, which it automatically translates to the stage. Like it doesn't it doesn't it doesn't hurt at all. But we got to get more product. I can't wait till we get more people selling more stuff, man. That's really like I'm super duper excited because I get to talk about a lot of the entrepreneurial stuff. And I think people won't even care about speaking if they making money. Like if they making money for books and coaching, they're like, man, I'm cool with the speaking. I'm just gonna keep doing this. Even though I think speaking is a great marketing tool, I think um,
And that's the thing. They'll start understanding that speaking is more marketing and because everybody coming on talking about, oh, I want to get paid from this. And it's like, yo, that kind of died out in the late 1900s, early 2000s when people was just paying to hear your story. Like as soon as YouTube took off, like that whole speaking for your story thing was dead.
yeah. I mean, a lot of it comes down to who's paying, right? I think that True's thing worked because it was government people paying for that, right? So the city of whatever or the state was bringing him into these political banquets and all these different things. The Democratic Party, different political entities are paying for him to push their agenda, which is good, right? They do it on both sides. Um, I think more in the entrepreneurial world, we have a different perspective on a lot of it because the usually we're paid out of the money that the event generates. Does that make sense? We're not paid out of a store of money that they've used to put on the event. We're paid out of the tickets or whatever, or things of that sort. So, it's just so many different ways to skin this cat. So many different ways to get booked, get on stage, get your message out there. I just, I'm addicted to the life, man. I'm addicted to this thing, and
I wish more people would have their own events and have their own shows and podcasts so they would understand when you say things like, "Oh, you're not gonna pay me," and I'm like, "Are you gonna bring in money?" Because like, oh, this money coming out of my pocket. Like, why would I pay you to come on my podcast? Like, is anybody gonna pay me to hear you? Like, like it makes you look at this business totally different when you're doing it yourself because you understand where the money has to come from to actually pay people to do this. And you like, bro, I would never pay you. Like, there's no value in me paying you to come on my thing because you're not gonna help me make money. You're not gonna sell no tickets. And the experience that you think you're gonna give my audience, I can play a YouTube video.
Yeah, I think you make a good point. It's we hear this a lot with new entrepreneurs, right? Oh man, my boss stupid. I'm like, but he hired you. So what is that? What do we say? But he hired you. So if is he really that stupid, right? Or we hear people criticize the business. Oh man, I don't want to be a big, I can't stand corporate. But their dream is to build a business to compete. It's like you can't build what you despise,
Yeah.
right? And so we hear it all the time. It's just inexperience where they just don't know. And it's okay. We all start there and then you learn the business. And but it's our job as professionals to be able to find our money no matter where it is. I'm gonna get mine out the audience. I mean, somebody gonna pay me. Somebody gonna pay me one way or another. So anything else, guys, before we shut it down for
I
today?
was talking to this one podcaster. He is in Germany, and he was like, "Yeah, just a FYI, just to book our pre-pod interview, it's a $50 deposit." And I said, "It's a deposit just for the interview?" And he's like, "A lot of people have been faking on me, so if you show up, you'll get the money back. But if you don't show up, then I get the $50." And I said, "Okay." And he was like, "Are they not doing that in America?" And I said, "Not to my knowledge. I haven't. You're the first person." And he was like, "This is a popular thing that we're doing in Germany now." He's like, "You'll get the money back, but it's just more of a way to make people ensure that they're going to be, showing up for these meetings." And I said, "I get that part, but for me, if you're on my calendar, then that's just what I do. That's just me. But I can't speak for everybody else. But I can see about the value of time, and I can see why he would do something like that."
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean, dude, I think half of my meetings canceled, which is why I started doing these group meetings to just force people into here. Because I mean, it's like, dude, like the the yeah, it's this is a rookie business. So the people that have been doing it for a while, they're usually a bit more consistent. But with new speakers, this is their first business. It becomes hard for them. But I get canceled all the time. Oh man, I forgot all about this. Can I call you tomorrow? I'm like, I don't think you understand how big of a machine this is. Yeah, I'll talk to you in May because I'm booked out for 4 weeks. I mean, literally, we set 400 meetings in the last 2 weeks. So,
I would say that in terms of professionalism, I've gotten all that from every interaction. I think one person told me, what I don't know if it was an association with a podcast or whatever, it was like the response was no thank you. I just laughed. But and I early on I had a couple of guys who were like, well, it's gonna be here, it's Christmas time and maybe this and maybe that, and but only two out of all of them. But who the professionals are and who the professionals aren't. So, but
100%.
it's only been like two out of all of them. So yeah, it's
Oh yeah, no, I mean, again, we're in the right place, guys. I can't wait to look back next year, and we got some cool things we're working on. We're gonna try to do a live event later this year. We're gonna get everybody into one place. I think that's gonna be incredible, and do some hanging out, but at the same time, do some learning. Try to get some of my cool friends that are entertainers and speakers that can come in and make it a good time. So, but I'm gonna call it a night. I'm tired. My first meeting was at 7 this morning, so my 12 hours are done. I'm done with my 12 for today. So I'll catch up
Well,
with y'all
it's
tomorrow,
5
man.
o'clock here, so you guys have a good night. I'm gonna enjoy this daylight and this good time,
Yeah,
and
it's
I'll
been
see
it's
y'all
been dark.
tomorrow.
It's been dark here for an hour and a half. So
AJ, make sure he's getting the steps in. I don't know if you're getting the steps in or not.
Ron stepped from his office to his refrigerator bag to play with the kids.
I've upgraded. I got
Step
something. I figured out a way to get it in. I went and I invested $30 in the step machine.
Hey, we gonna check his phone and see how many steps he got by the end of the week.
I don't do it with my phone in my pocket. My phone on my desk.
Yeah, so you got no steps.
Right, excuse me. I want
Who do steps with the phone in the pocket?
me.
Yeah, if you want them counted, that's what you do. Yours
Hey,
don't
man,
count.
I got a counter. It's a counter. It's a calculator on the front.
Counter?
I just look at it.
Okay.
Right now, man, I'm at
He
13.
under the desk doing this. They ain't getting no steps, man.
No, it's on the other side. I did 13, man. Leave me alone. I'm stepping like y'all sending pictures.
All right. Oh, that ain't me then.
No, definitely ain't us.
Later.
All right, boy.